Hey everybody, happy Monday. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. I was able to start out my day with some hot yoga at Alkaline Wellness Center. As you guys know, I have a hot yoga studio. It's the most amazing experience. It's a blend of Bikram yoga and Ashtanga to really work your whole body. And it's intended and designed to get into the nooks and crannies of all your joints and really mobilize each segment in your vertebra and moving dynamically through all planes of motion. It really gets into the arthrokinematics, dynamic motion, as well as stability, balance, proprioception, all the goodness that comes out of movement. As you guys know, we have functional yoga medicine practitioner certification. In that, I do involve a lot of yoga. Yoga is a foundation for all the foundational things that we can have to establish health, right? And how that came to be is what I want to talk to you guys about. So today's topic is all about stop getting lost in the dogmas of health. Okay, let's start out by really defining what dogma means. According to the Oxford Dictionary, it's a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true. So what does that mean? It may not be true, but it's dogmatic in nature, right? So we believe it as come down from authority, indoctrinated as to be true. And I see this now after 2 decades of practicing in conventional medical space, as well as being a patient in that space, to really see the explosion of the internet, to see the wellness and fitness and health experts to go and defy all things that I used to believe, all my dogmatic beliefs were challenged. And for so long, I too resisted diving into those kinds of or challenging my beliefs about them. So because I was so heavily dogmatically focused, but in retrospect, I can tell you that there's many of us who live our lives so entrenched and indoctrinated in our dogmas, so much so that we start to defend our position. And it's happening in the political arena right now, right? You're either left or right. There's nothing in the middle. There's no peace coming together. It's so polarizing when it's that way. We must have this human experience together to bring everybody together to have an agreement to, agree to disagree sometimes. And it's okay if you disagree. There has to be it doesn't have to be a bad negative feeling. It's never black and white. Okay. So having said that, there's textbook things that we learn in school, especially in medical education. I have a doctoral degree in physical therapy, psychology degree as a bachelor's, and then master's degree in nutrition. And I can tell you, I probably retained 10% of what I learned, but most of the things that I learned in nutrition today, 20 years later, it's no longer valid. Everything's challenged. Everything's flipped upside down. It's the ways of the world. And back then we talked a lot about the fad diets. And so I had to learn to refute them, get to know them. And I used to go from a stance of whoever is talking about it, if they've got some letters behind their name, that was something to be looked at and believe. And I didn't know. If I didn't know, I was going to listen to somebody else. And this is where you have to be very, very careful, even as learned as you are. Some of you guys are medical doctors. Some of you guys are professional healthcare practitioners, as well as some of you guys are yoga teachers, right? If we don't know and we go at something, we get indoctrinated because we go by somebody who's authority teaching us something, right? So it's great to be great students, but what I want to really talk to you guys about is the dangers of really buying into these dogmas, because it keeps you so locked in. It really, really chains you to the shackles, right? And it just kind of binds you down in that position. And so when floods come and you've got to move and dislocate yourself or move yourself and re-anchor yourself somewhere else, it becomes very hard. And I don't know how old your parents are, but there are certain things that I cannot change about my dad's stance and the way he positions and his perspective about the world. It's so hardwired that I can't change it. I've met many physicians who feel the same way. They will argue against anything that goes outside of their medical profession. They're in my family. I have ENT doc. I have a nephew who's in medical school, and I have a brother, right? 2 brothers. And we talk about these things a lot. And I realize there's only so much that I can go before it gets really, verges on an argumentative discussion. And I have no interest in doing that, of course. But all this to say, all the new information that's coming, there's a lot of them. So it's all about, I want to bring under the umbrella of functional yoga medicine. I want to really unpack all the false beliefs we have, all the dogmas, and just be able to uncover them all and learn from them all. But more importantly, merge all these ideas to have innovative new ideas, to have a better and newer perspective. We want to be elevated in the way we think about our position and our identity in the healthcare world, as well as to be empowered to do our best, as well as to embody health and wellness in our own lives, right? And so let's talk about some of the dogmas that I've learned, right? You guys know that I was hospitalized many times in my career with, as a professional patient of lupus in the last 20 years. I'd say about 7 times I was hospitalized for different reasons. Every time I was hospitalized, I've been seen by a physical therapist. I was seen by a registered dietitian. And of course, the social work would usually come before the discharge, as well as I'd be poked and prodded by different specialists in the hospital, right? And so you would think that hospital would really serve healthy foods, and physical therapists are very learned. But from the perspective as a physical therapist, I knew when I was doing my internship or residency, so to speak, in PT school, in acute care setting at the hospital, I knew my limited scope of practice. Even though we called it interdisciplinary, I would walk the patient in the hospital bed, who needs to be walked. And then an occupational therapy would come and work on the shoulders and how to, eat and dress, right? Upper body. And then physical therapy is lower body. And then they've got speech therapists who might help them swallow. They've got pharmacists who can manage all his TPNs and everything, and nutrition and such, and medications, of course. And then different specialists. And then, of course, there was the RD, registered dietitians, who oversaw their caloric intake. And I was both a registered dietitian and a physical therapy in the hospital. So I kind of know the things that in the name of interdisciplinary treatment plan, that this is only so much that we can do for the patient. So it was very limited. Many people, one person is under the care of many different people, but it was so fragmented. I laugh, me as a patient sitting in the bed, talking to my physical therapist or registered dietitian, was very superficial. They just covered and checked the boxes, and then they were out. And so I knew as a physical therapist graduating, I knew I couldn't work under the guise of such, identity, right? As a physical therapist in the hospital or a registered dietitian, it was just a mindless job that I had. I was taking a patient home, and I just didn't see the purpose in that. Didn't get any better in outpatient physical therapy. Didn't get any better in my practice as a registered dietitian in various different settings as well. And so I realized over time that at the end of the day, what is health? What are all our roles, right? I'm speaking to physicians that are specifically in breaking out of the conventional model to go into functional medicine or integrative medicine or holistic. They're open-minded about integrating some of these practices because they know intuitively and they know deep within them that whatever conventional model is not working, that it is really sick care. Many of you have sought out functional medicine because you yourselves were getting sick as well, right? And so if you really listen to the lecturers in your conferences, specifically, IFMs, right? functional medicine, the studies, I would ask myself, how much do my presenters practice what they preach? Because I realized that colleagues, right? Many physicians that I've met, they were really, really bombarded with their practices, and it was so complicated to get into the root cause of disease. And then there was so many testing that were involved that were highly specialized, and that testing alone, that was, I don't know, years worth of education, if you're really being honest with me about the specialty labs, right? Because that's a big sector of functional medicine, and it's costly for us patients. And I've gotten every test under the sun. And in retrospect, all the tests and all the money that I spent, what did I walk away with? Not much, right? Because at the end of the day, what was prescribed to me was lifestyle. It was a certain way to eat. Supplements, let's talk about supplements, right? There's so many different supplements. And there's so many supplement vendors that are marketing to us. Like, we get so bombarded. Not to mention in the yoga community too, Ayurvedic, right? There's a lot of supplements, and there's just so much noise online. And then there's the different diets. Does keto work? Paleo work? Autoimmune paleo? Histamine diet? FODMAP diet? Elimination diet? Intermittent fasting? What about that works? Protein shakes and different kinds, right? And so there's so many different ways that it can go to complicate, right? But it only takes a piece of it and amplifies it to make a position, and under the guise of it being so easy and convenient, that we sell to the consumers and we buy into that, right? And so these are some things that I want you to think about. And even within the exercises alone, I have 2 master certifications in Pilates, full apparatus training. And what I learned is there's different dogmatic ways to do Pilates too. It's either you are classically trained, or Stott trained, or Polestar trained, or McIntyre, or whatever the hell you were trained, excuse me, my language. But it all depends on what background you come with, and then you start to defend that. Like, there's a little bit of that going on at these conventions, even Pilates. And then there's the yoga side. There's the Iyengar. There's yoga therapy. And then there is the Ashtanga. And then there's Bikram. There's so many different yoga nidra, Kundalini yoga. Like, all of those things were explored. I did explore all of them that I just mentioned. But you just get so lost in the science. What I was interested in was not the individual segments and fragments of what they offered. But in the end, I wanted a way to connect them all into a big picture. And that's why I call our program functional, because lifestyle is functional. And then medicine is towards health, right? With self-healing, medication, medicine, right? And then yoga is the union to self. It's the self-healing. So I want you to take a yang approach to the yin, right? Because so many of you get so lost in the dogmas of the small bits and pieces of information. And there's so many bloggers that make a case of so many different things. But if you guys are in the trenches with me looking at research and have done research like myself, you know that there's a lot of tester variability, and there's a lot of variables that you cannot control, even in the pharmaceutical studies, right? You have to really look at who's funding the study. Number one, we both know that, that determines how the results will turn or, weigh down. And we have to understand all these things to understand that our bio-individuality really matters. And we have to understand that 3 essential things drive human behavior. 3 big prongs are relationships, right? Our spouses, our friends, our society, our colleagues, our everything, right? Our kids. So we have to have those boundaries set and have a ecosystem, relationship ecosystem that supports us, holds us accountable. That's number 1. And then the other part of it is the finances. So how does your financials look, right? Because that can be a huge stressor, as well as the third thing is health. But I consider health to be number 1. As somebody who's been really sick, if health goes, nothing else matters. I can't have decent relationships, and I can't earn money if I'm sick, right? So health is number 1. And so under the guise of health, it needs to be your responsibility. Nobody can do the thing for you, because at the end of the day, whether it's the testing, various different testing that you do, or the supplements or the herbals, or specific diets, because diets are the really foods, right? And then exercise. And then there's the medications, right, that you take, and hormones too, as well as you can practice meditation. But all these things really need to do some things, right? In lifestyle, we need to manage our mental stress. It's, mental health is huge these days because our central nervous system, what our thoughts do, this carries a lot of weight. And I talked a lot about the enteric nervous system in our gut and how that plays with our brain, right? So internal balance and homeostasis is key. So at the end of the day, it's all about lifestyle. What do you do? But you have to manage your central nervous system to be able to do the thing, right? I have a wellness center. We offer yoga classes every day. And if you do them, you'll feel amazing. But the truth is, how do we get them to come? How do we get them to do these things? Because as a psychologist, I knew, studying psychology, that it was all a lot about the mind, but there was no tangible behavior, right? Because I wasn't a registered dietitian studying psychology. It was just studying of the mind. I just felt like I couldn't do anything but talk about their minds, right? So that's why I got into food. Nutrition was my next thing. I worked as a registered dietitian only to realize, oh my goodness, I'm at the end of the ropes. Even if the patient has out of control diabetes or they need to lose the weight, unless their mind was right and their relationship was right and their stories that they tell themselves and then the stressors are controlled, they weren't going to do the thing that matters. And for health, what do we need to do? We really need to be sleeping, right? We need to be hydrated. We need to eat healthy foods. But then when we eat, we need to exercise and move our bodies and take care of our musculature. And it's all about self-care and mental health, really managing our minds. So everything needs to come together. It doesn't happen bits and pieces at a time. So I really want you guys to really not get so suckered down into different dogmas. How I approach this crazy world of holistic health these days is I listen to whoever is talking, but I'm always coming within. Like I really tap into within me and really listen to my gut feeling about what the information is. And I not try not to, but I want to be so rooted that I'm not swaying with what the world is telling me to do anymore. Because for so long, I didn't know that my roots needed to be deep enough within me to be able to emerge as me, to be of service to others. Because, I think about my position as a physical therapist, a registered dietitian, and, as a functional medicine practitioner and yoga teacher, and now a CEO and, leader of my company. I have all these roles that I try to fulfill, right? But really, I'm a human being. I'm a woman with an autoimmune condition, mom of 2 teenage boys, who's into holistic functional medicine, right? It's all about, what is that? I'm a health promoting practitioner. And so this general idea of promoting health requires always certain things that I would prescribe to my patients. It's not all about the testing. It's not all about the supplements. Sometimes it doesn't even require going deep into the problems that we have. But if we focus on the solution, I found that my patients would get better. So all that I know about functional medicine, all the pathology that we learn is not relevant sometimes. I don't have to go dive deep and make something so complicated to take away from the clients that I want to serve, because I want to have immediate effects. And all your clients are really wanting is to feel better. But whether you're a yoga teacher, Pilates instructor, physical therapist, occupational therapist, nutritionist, or a functional medical physician, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, stop with this scope of practice. Don't buy into the dogmas. I need you guys to really emerge and expand your minds, break down the barriers, forget the scope of practice, because we're all health promoting practitioners. And as such, we're helping our clients to live better lives by addressing their lifestyle and helping them to live their solution by doing the 3E things, right? First, by elevating their thinking and thoughts about their identity to be the best version of themselves, as well as 2, to really empower them to do the best that they can with everything that they've got, like move, eat, think, meditate, all those things, right? Behavior. And then lastly, so that they can embody health and wellness in everything that they do is the ultimate goal if you think about it. So we really have to have a bird's eye view of sort of what we're trying to do. Don't get lost, because there's so many of you who get overwhelmed with information. And it's like you're navigating New York City on foot. All you see is the street in front of you with all the traffic jams. But if you have a bird's eye view, it makes navigating New York City a lot easier to get from point A to point B, because you know exactly where to go. And sometimes that yang approach works a lot. Not dismissing the yin approach, because certainly there's a lot of involved patients that we need to really dive deep with. But I'm saying most of the time, if we take the yang with the yin, works a lot better. Everything in the middle is torn apart by different disciplines: physical therapy, functional medicine, nutritionists, personal trainers, whatever your title is, that just becomes a tactical approach. You just get lost. And our world on the internet is so much that way. I want you guys to elevate your thoughts, to go deeper within and help your clients really connect the external environment with the internal work, so that they're deep rooted in who they are, so that they can be elevated to be their best, to be empowered to do their best, so that they can embody the best version of themselves. And that's really the goal for you. So it's not about being the best physician. That's so marginalized. Everything's a commodity. Physical therapy is a commodity. We're so stuck with the payers, Medicare payments, Medicaid payments, whatever they want. We only get so many limits. We've become technicians, you guys. We need to wake up to that. And if you're a yoga teacher, not a licensed practitioner, they have a lot more freedom. So if that's you, you need to elevate yourself to know more, because these people are flocking to the yoga studios. Is why I have a yoga studio as a physical therapist, because they weren't going to physical therapy. They'd much rather see the yoga teachers to do their physical therapy, because they got so much more results from this versus all the things that go on in physical therapy. It's very marginalized, you guys know, right? It's commoditized. It's so systematized by everybody else. And I just want to level out the playing field, to elevate everybody's education, to pull the best of psychology education, all about the coaching aspects of it, how to get them to think their minds and really create and root down and improve their mental health, as well as to eat the right foods, and knowing food is not the enemy. You can have some pizza and a glass of wine and not die from it. But these days, in the name of functional medicine, people are becoming orthorexic, meaning they're scared to eat. And I am sick and tired of that. I used to be that patient. Don't want that, right? So food, as well as physical medicine. People are sick, you guys, from poor posture, and they're not moving. Sedentary life is killing us. So we need to get them to move, to be able to enhance their metabolism, detoxification, and elimination. At the end of the day, if I can improve those 3 functions in the lives of our clients, we'd be golden, right? So mental health, nutrition, as well as movement, all under the guise of yoga. We can do all of it. Yoga is the pathway to within through the breath with movement. We learn mind-body mastery, self-mastery, health mastery, ultimately to life mastery. Are you with me? So we have a workshop coming up in 2 weeks that I'm hosting. It's called the Functional Yoga Mastery Workshop. Please sign up. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be 10 days of so much education about all things that you can do to interconnect these different paradigms and different dogmas and disciplines, and really be strategic in your approach to have maximum impact in the lives of your clients, not patients, I redefine healthcare in a way that makes sense. Really demystifying, not complicating. We're simplifying to amplify. And then we want to be the embodiment of true health and wellness, because the messenger, you as a practitioner, is much more important. People are really keen on who they want to like and trust, right? Those factors weigh in because intuitively they want to go with people that are practicing what they preach. No longer can we tell them what to do, because internet is full of people showing them what to do. You must step up your game, elevate yourself to have a new identity and to be your best, so that you can really empower yourself to do your best, so that you can embody the best version of you as the practitioner as you are. Incorporate everything. So let's defy all the barriers in healthcare and really make it collective whole. And this is a movement that I'm creating, and I have the best education for you. Join me in this free workshop. The link is below, and I'll see you guys all soon, and have a great week.